Channeling is your birthright. It's not something you need to be worthy of or deserving of. You don't need to be affiliated with a certain religion or be super spiritual to channel. And in this video, Willow and I are going to discuss how to channel and take inspired action. I'm going to be featuring the movie Soul because this Pixar animated movie is the best movie that describes channeling and how to manifest whatever you desire. Let's get into it. First off, the movie Soul is a very subliminally rich movie, as well as just in your face. There's so many things that are said in this movie, and the storyline is phenomenal. I am going to tell you right now, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you need to exit out of the video, now's the time. I love you. Come back after you've watched it. The second thing is that we are spiritual beings. You are a spirit having a physical experience. So you don't really ever leave the spirit realm. You have access to it all the time. And this is the essence of channeling. Channeling is allowing higher intelligence to move through you. This means that, one, you have access to it all the time. That still small voice that you hear in your head, that's higher intelligence. It doesn't ever shout at you. It's pretty patient. It nudges you. And we'll talk more about this when we get into inspired action. But something that really resonates with me with the movie Soul is that there's this character. His name is Joe Gardner. And Joe Gardner, which is a very basic name too. I love that. If your name is Joe Gardner in real life, you're amazing, not basic, okay? But Joe, in this movie, he is a band teacher. And throughout his career, he has felt like a failure. He has felt that there are so many dreams that he has that hasn't come to fruition. And throughout the movie, we see this man experience death. The movie starts off with him being in a school. He's teaching a bunch of kids, and there's even a standout student in that class, the student who channels through music, through the instrument that they're playing. And Joe himself, his spark, his love is playing the piano. Playing the piano and making jazz music, that's his thing. Now he gets out of the band class and is offered a full-time position at the school that he's working at. And although this may seem great on the outside, his heart is still not into it. He thinks that he is destined for greatness and hasn't experienced that greatness yet. So he gets a call from an old student of his who is working with a very well-known musician, singer, and their name is Dorothea Williams. When he tells Joe this, Joe is so ecstatic. He's like, wow, I would love to play for Dorothea Williams. That's my biggest dream. And his student, his former student goes, well, now it's your time because I am looking for a drummer. Dorothea is looking for a drummer and we need somebody to play in our gigs. So Joe is so excited. He's so excited, and this prompts him to go around the city of New York in just bliss. He is so blissed out and he doesn't even know what's happening to him. He's walking through a bunch of hazardous things and he ends up falling to his death. This is how the beginning of this movie starts. Before we go any further into the story, let's put this into perspective. There is something in your life right now that when you do that thing, you are filled with so much joy. You lose track of time doing it, and it just feels like you could talk about this thing, you could do this thing forever. Keep that in mind because that is your source of power. That is how you channel. Okay, moving forward in the story. Okay, so Joe, he goes through this construction site and he falls to his death, and his spirit enters this black space. And he talks to this grandma. The grandma's like, hey, boo, you're in the great beyond. This happens to be the space where you go right before you die. It's going to take you up this ladder and then you just disperse into nothingness. You become source again. So this is not flying with Joe. He is very upset and very aware of the fact that he has not accomplished his dreams on Earth. He has this passion to get back to Earth and do whatever it takes to get into his body. Fast forward to him trying to escape the great beyond, and he enters into this realm. And this realm is called the Great Before. The Great Before is a place where souls are prepared before being on Earth. And in the Great Before, he meets this soul called 22, which is interesting because 22 is a master number. There's 11, 22, and 33. These are all in numerology considered master numbers, but 22 is considered the master builder number. It's also my favorite number too. And 22 not only is a very vintage, archaic number, but it happens to be the soul that he gets paired up with. They mistake him for being this world-renowned person, and he just goes with the flow. Because again, he wants to go back into his body, and it doesn't matter what he needs to do to get there. The whole idea of 22 and Joe pairing up is so that this soul, 22, can find her spark. Lots of other souls in the Great Before are finding their spark, and that gives them an Earth pass. This Earth pass allows them to enter Earth and become human, enter the physical. Eventually, Joe ends up telling 22 that he's not this world-renowned person and that he is just a regular schmegular average person, and they actually bring up his life, and it reveals how sad it was, how he viewed himself as unsuccessful. But what's interesting is that 22 is fascinated by this. She was able to work with some of the greatest souls on Earth, and none of them were able to help her complete her Earth pass. They weren't able to help her find her spark. And Joe tells 22, hey, I want to get back into my body. Will you help me? This prompts 22 to say, actually, yes, nobody has ever brought this to me. Nobody has ever wanted to come back to Earth. I don't know why. Earth is stupid. So let's see what this is all about. Now, fast forward to their journey. Joe and 22 get this idea of completing 22's Earth pass so that Joe can take the pass and go back into his body. Great. This is what actually happens. They end up meeting these metaphysical people, metaphysical teachers from across the world, and they're in the spirit realm. And they start talking about what it looks like to be in the zone. Now, the zone is exactly what channeling is. The zone is where you are able to access higher intelligence and live as though time does not exist. This is a place where you can be who you are and be joyful in your life, being in the present moment. In this realm, you have a lot of people that are in the flow state, and then you also see that there's these monsters walking on the sand. And these monsters are not really monsters. They're just people that got obsessed and overconsumed by life. They let the circumstances really consume them and not allow them to live in their joy. What the healers do, what the metaphysical teachers do, is they come to that person, they come to that monster, and they start doing meditations, they start dancing and doing these hymns, and then the monster disintegrates into the person it was truly meant to be. The zone is also considered the flow state. This is where time does not matter. It does not exist. It literally is where you function the best. So going back to that question I asked you earlier, how often do you think that you are in the zone? So one of the metaphysical teachers guides Joe into meditation. Through this meditation, he's able to see the realm clearly, see his body clearly. He sees that he's in a coma and he wants to be in his body. So he tries to push himself into the portal, into the reality, into the realm of Earth, and mistakenly brings 22 with him. As they're falling down the portal, they actually switch and go into different bodies. Joe goes into a cat and 22 goes into Joe's body. From here on out, I'm going to discuss how to take inspired action because this is the whole point. This is the reason why you clicked on this video. Taking inspired action comes from channeling your higher self. you will notice that Joe, through his circumstances, he felt like a failure. He felt unsuccessful. He didn't really know why life was guiding him the way that it was. I mean, his mother disapproved, his dad was no longer alive, and he just felt like he was so unfulfilled. But the moment he received that call from a former student, he started to feel like his life was coming into place. And this was what I have to say. Your circumstances, all of the circumstances that you are living right now are leading you to the path of what you are asking for. Every desire that you have, every type of imaginal act that you get really excited about, those things will come to pass. If Joe wasn't a band teacher, then he wouldn't have had a former student reach out to him and give him this opportunity. These circumstances happen in everyday life. Also, when 22 is in Joe's body, 22 with fresh eyes becomes joyful. 22 finds her spark and finds her purpose and completes the earth pass. 22 is able to do that because life itself is reason enough to live. I've watched this movie so many times. I am the biggest fan of this movie. One thing that I've never heard on the internet and something that is very, very nuanced is this. 22 talks about walking, talks about living her joy. And Joe dismisses it as just regular old living. But you'll realize that the thing Joe dismisses is also the reason why he dies. Going back to the beginning of this video, when I talk about him being nonchalant and just walking through life, he falls into a hole. Every single moment matters. Even the moments where you're walking, even the seemingly small things that you think don't matter. And that's what inspired action looks like. So let's say you want to learn how to channel. You act on your excitement. You follow your joy. You find joy in the moments that you're living. And every time you do that, you create this momentum. This momentum causes reality to bend, and you start listening to those nudges, those leads of excitement. It's a thread, it's a pattern. And if you follow the pattern, then you'll receive the power. Now, I'm not going to act like this is something that you just know, right? In fact, when you're following higher intelligence, you may not know anything at all. You may not understand why you're doing the things that you're doing. For example, I have been called to do this video since 2022. And I do apologize for making it just now, but in divine timing, everything happens. When you connect with this higher intelligence, it will continue to give you these nudges over and over again. So my question to you is there something that higher intelligence has been telling you to do and you haven't done it yet? That's for you to act on. That is what inspired action is. It's a still small voice. It nudges. It doesn't shout. It's patient. It's kind. It's unconditional. And no matter how off track you get, it'll always reroute you into your highest path. Always and forever, until you act on those things. The most powerful part of the movie is when Joe finally gets to play with Dorothea Williams. He ends up taking 22's Earth Pass because 22 found her spark, and he uses it to get back into his body. But what he realizes after playing a very long set and successful set with all of the musicians, with Dorothea Williams, he realizes that he doesn't feel any different. It wasn't the end all be all. He asks, "What's next?" And Dorothea Williams responds with, "We do it again." The most iconic part of this movie is when Dorothea Williams is talking to Joe about what's next and about life itself. She says, and I quote, "I heard this story about a fish. He swims up to an older fish and says, 'I'm trying to find this thing they call the ocean.' 'The ocean,' the older fish says, 'that's what you're in right now.' 'This,' says the young fish, 'this is water. What I want is the ocean.'" Please know that you are channeling every single day in every moment, and you have the capacity in your own unique way to receive everything that you've been asking for when you just follow that thread of excitement, follow that joy. And purpose is created by you. Everything is created by you, through you, and for you. I hope that this has been helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.